Hey, greetings, class. Welcome to a new week of Psych 5. Hey, I wanted to go over some basic information with you as we start this week. And we're going to talk about the exam results. We'll talk about project number one assignment. We'll go over a question I've been getting about the Z score handout. And then all your new material for the next chapter on hypothesis testing is already posted. So let me share this little PowerPoint I made for you. This will be brief, don't worry. All right. So, some questions that I have received and some information that I want to give to all of you at once. Here we go. So, first thing about the exam, great job. Nearly everybody has completed it, and out of people that have completed so far, the average is an 88%, which is wild. I've never had scores this high on an exam in a stats class. So, I commend you for that. And the standard deviation was only 4.01. So that's, the average score, which is like 88 out of 100, give or take 4 points is where most of the scores are. So everybody was doing really well on this exam. And the highest score is 100%. So there were a few people that just knocked it out of the park. The lowest score is 61%. So even the lowest score was still a D. So that's pretty amazing too. You might have noticed in the grade book that you received a few additional points on your exam score, and those are because of typos that I made on the exam. So if there were a few questions that were confusing, it may not have been your fault. And I looked over those already, and most people miss those, and it's because of the typos. So if you got a score that's a little bit higher than the one that Canvas reported back to you, but the gradebook reports a score a little higher, that's why. It's because of those typos. Not that you were complaining, right? We got to thank like Matthew Bray for pointing those out, to me. Okay, and then if you're curious about it, the average time was about 58 minutes to complete this exam. So it took everybody on average about an hour. Of course, some people took longer, and that is fine. You take all the time that you need, but it looks like you guys are doing a great job. So whatever study methods that you're using, they look like they're working. Keep it up. Keep up this good work. Okay, fantastic. Project number one, also great job. The first project, of course, is the easiest part of the whole project. We just have to basically declare your project thesis, right? Your hypothesis. Um, and really, really good job. If you still have questions about that one, send them my way because every other project assignment after this is going to piggyback on this one. So if you have questions about project number one, and that's the reason you haven't turned it in yet, send them to me. Um, the one question I got from a few people, so I don't think it's a big issue, but a few people did write in and ask just for more details and understand the directions. And the basic gist is just this: I gave you those 10 different like scales to look over, and I wanted you to pick two of them that you think are related to each other. So some people picked, for example, an attitude scale, like attitudes toward gays and lesbians was one, and there are quite a few people that thought that might be tied to a second scale that has to do with empathy. So they think there might be some relationship between empathy and attitudes toward lesbians and gays. So you just have to pick two of them and state your hypothesis. For the next round in the project, then I will give you data that I've already collected for you. So you don't have to collect the data. And you're going to find out if your hypothesis is supported or not based on the data that I provide you. So that'll be the next part. Project number one, first step. Great job, everyone. If you still have questions about that, let me know. If you haven't done it yet, contact me as well. Okay, another question I got from people was about the Z score handout. And this was posted on Canvas instead of a discussion activity. I had some additional questions for you to answer about Z scores. And I think it was the formatting that became confusing. So a question looked like this. Questions 5 and 6 on that handout are essentially the same, just with different numbers, just to give you practice. And so what I wanted you to do is, okay, here are your raw scores, the 0, 6, 4, 3, and 12. So they've not been manipulated or, transformed. Nothing's happened to them, right? So those are the 5 scores. You can see them here going vertically over here on the left under X, 0, 6, 4, 3, 12. Okay, so what I want you to do with those first is calculate the variance and then the standard deviation. So if you need to review that, go back to the previous chapters on variability, and that'll show you how to solve for the variance and then solve for the standard deviation. So I try to help you out, give you a little hint, right? Kind of jog your memory as you're going through to solve for the variance standard deviation. You just square each of the x values, right? And then find the sum of the squared x's and find the squared sum of x. Work them through the formula for variance, and then take the square root of the variance to get the standard deviation. So that's all in step A. That'll take the longest, is doing this part here, step A. So remember, it's squared, so it's variance. It's no longer squared, it's the standard deviation here. Okay, so you need the standard deviation, and you also need the average. So you're going to get an average of these five scores as well. So just a simple average, right? Add them all up, add all five of these scores together and divide by five and get the average score. So you need the average and you need the standard deviation in order to find the z score for each one of them. So I gave you a z column here. What I want you to do is transform this zero into a z score, right? So just run this zero through the z score formula. So it'll be zero, subtract the average divided by the standard deviation. That'll give you the answer here. And I'm just doing it this way so you can see, okay, here's the x value, and then here it is as a z-score. And then you can do the same thing for the 6. So you plug the 6 into your z-score formula. So you do 6, subtract the average from these numbers, divided by the standard deviation that you calculated in A. So it's the same formula that you use to transform this 0 into a z. Now you're going to transform the 6 into a z. And then you use the same formula to transform a 4 into a z, and a 3 into a z, and a 12 into a z. And that's all you got to do for this problem. um, the most time consuming part will be finding the variance, and from there it's pretty easy. But just remember that these are the steps: variance, standard deviation, z-score, and transform each of these x values into a z-score. So that's how you would do number 5. That's also how you do number 6. So you have a little bit of time today, if you haven't done it yet, to get that done. If you were waiting to hear back, if you were confused or had questions about it and you're waiting for me to get back to you about it, here you go. Here's how you do it, right? Okay, so give that a shot. If you have more questions about it, just send them my way. Oh, and the last thing, okay, we're starting a new chapter this week, and by now you know the drill, right? I want you to watch the lecture videos. I put up supplemental videos for you as well, because sometimes it's good to hear from someone who's not me, just to hear from a second voice. So go watch the lecture videos, watch the supplemental videos. There's a practice quiz, of course, as usual. And then there's the quiz for the chapter. And then there's their handout assignments. The handout assignment for this one is 2 problems. And each problem has a set of questions attached. And a lot of it is review, and some of it is new with hypothesis testing. All right, so we are turning the corner here in our class to start focusing on inferential statistics. So everything we've done from the beginning of class up to this point was really to prepare us for the last half of the class. To me, this is where it gets more exciting, because now we're starting to answer questions in a scientific way, right? The way that scientists would try to answer these questions. And of course, this class we're focusing on the math that's used, but also in drawing conclusions from that math. So I'm excited. I like the last half of the class a little more than the first half, and I think maybe you will too, if you like problem solving as much as I do. All right, so that's what I got for this week. I think I covered all the questions I received. But continue to send them my way if you have questions, and if they're questions that a lot of people have, then I'll throw them in a video like this one. Okay, I hope you all have a good week. Bye.